All right, our retirement savings are again under threat. There are new calls to scrap the tax concession on superannuation contributions, which encourage Australians to provide for their own retirement. The Australia Institute says the concession unfairly benefits the rich and is blowing out the budget. What do you think about this, Jason? Is it a good move?
Well, super is one of the most important things we've done in the last 20 or 30 years. And we keep hearing that we're living longer. The average life expectancy for a man now is 79, 80, for women about 84, 85. So we need more and more money to retire on. And I think we need to be putting more money into superannuation and providing more incentives for people to put money in superannuation. We all want to live a great life when we retire, and if you run out of money, then you can't do the things that you want to do. So my advice would be increase the amount of money that people put in their superannuation from as early as when they're in their 20s and 30s, so you've got enough money to retire on. Don't create disincentives.
Well,
this is a bad idea then?
We made changes last year that said that if you've got $1 million in superannuation and you're making $100,000 a year on top of that, then you'll get taxed at a higher rate. But I don't think we want to create disincentives for people to put more money in super, because that means you've just got more people relying on the pension when they get older.
I think one of the big causes of concern is that there are constant changes being made to superannuation rules. There's changes coming afoot in the new budget. Your government made changes. The previous government, the Howard government, made changes. The rest of us are thinking, oh my God, how much could I put in? Will I be able to get it out? So you're never quite sure because the rules keep changing. And I think these changes that the Treasurer keeps indicating and hinting at need to be surely something that are going to affect pensioners in the future, because the people on the pension right now are people who have planned their lives around the rules as they know them. So if you change them overnight, I think that's a bit unfair. So I said, you know, I keep thinking we're frightening the hell out of older Australians. There surely must be a better way to be talking about these issues. The Treasurer is really putting the fear among older people.
I think to be clear, anyone on the pension watching this is not going to be impacted by any of these changes. No, what is going to happen is that people who will be on the pension in the next sort of decade or so will gradually have the age of eligibility increase. So it's people who are working now may have to work for a little bit longer, and the full 70 thing, we don't know exactly yet, but will probably not kick in for at least 15, 20 years. Joe Hockey is yet to announce.
He's saying his generation.
He's saying his generation.
But I do think there needs to be a look at, you know, just say you retire at 70. You can still, under the current rules, as I understand them, very confusing, you can still access your pension at 55. I think that's something that needs to be looked at. You know, I think if you're going to retire at 60, I don't think you should access your pension at 55. I think it should stay there until you're 60. Unless I think under a special circumstance, I think if you're struck with ill health, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, I think you can actually apply to get the money if you're seriously ill say you're 58 or something, or you're 54 or whatever, you can access your pension under those circumstances.
Access your super, that's right. So if you're going to lose your home because you've lost your job and you can't pay the mortgage, suffering serious ill health, you can access it earlier. But it is a high test because we want to make sure that people have access to their super when they retire and not use it all up beforehand.
Yeah, exactly right. I think
it's complicated though, isn't it? I mean, even just listening to this discussion, I get confused.
Yeah, it's very complicated. Basically, and the other problem is that we haven't seen the first generation of fully self-funded retirees yet. So superannuation was one of the great sort of constructions of the Hawke-Keating government. So you're basically looking at people who started their working life then, who will finish, who may be the sort of first generation that Joe Hockey's talking about, who end up do working to their 70.
People in my generation weren't in super all the time. When I worked for the Packers, they actually started a super fund, but it was not a government fund.
That's right.
But when I had the gall to leave the Packers, they kept all my entitlements, including my super. Including my super.
Yeah, Rose, that's a scandal.
He's a billionaire.
I would hate to come up against you, though.
Life wasn't meant to be easy.
Look, we've got to move on.